Hey everybody, it's John. We're here at C2 Tactical today in Tempe, not at the Scottsdale store. And we had a recent video on the main channel of an officer-involved shooting that's controversial. And there's a lot of stuff to talk about on that video. There's a lot of things that, from a tactics perspective and from a legal perspective, there's disagreement on that. And I think that's actually a good thing. But today out here on the range, I want to talk about the marksmanship perspective and how difficult this shot is that the officer took, and why I said I don't recommend most people do this. This is a very high level of shooting. Let's see. Today's video is brought to us by Firearms Legal Protection. Firearms Legal Protection is a legal defense program for lawful gun owners with a 24/7 emergency hotline and plans designed specifically for self-defenders. They are offering a discount on their plan to Asp fans, so hit the link in the description for that. So go watch the video. If you haven't watched the video, you need to go watch the video, because what you see is that in the moment, the officer decides to drive his gun out and shoot in the knees of the assailant, the perpetrator. And I'm going to back up here just so you can see I'm keeping the firearm pointed in a safe direction. He hits her in the knee. That's a small target. Now you might say the whole knee is about a 4-inch circle, but there's no way that I'm going to get an incapacitating hit way out here. It's really about a 2-inch circle. So what we're going to approximate that here is the 10 ring. That 10 ring is about a 10-inch circle. And what I said is if you go and you look at the video, the officer shot 2 shots. The first shot, when he decided, you watch him, he goes, drives the gun out there, gets 1 shot, then has to move the gun over and get a second shot from about 4 yards, give or take. And I know some people are going to be like, oh, that's pretty easy. You know, I went and talked to the competitive shooters that I know, to the defensive shooting coaches that I know. The competitive folks, this is probably like a high B-class shooter to a low A-class shooter worth of skill. And I honestly think maybe 1% to 3% of concealed carriers or law enforcement officers can reliably make this shot. And I challenged people to do it. So I'm going to do it. Now, here we are at about 4 yards, and what we have here is I am going to take these 2 shots. Now, I haven't shot today, so I said you got to do it cold. The officer didn't get any warm-up shots. You don't get any warm-up shots. So what you have to do here is, by the timing that he did, is drive out from the beep. Now, he's the one who got to decide the beep. He got to say, now, and drive the gun out and do it. But what we're going to say is that from the beep, just so we have an objective standard, you have about 1.3. He took that first shot in 1.3 seconds, then moved over to the other target, because what happened when he shot her, she moved like this. As he hit her in the knee, she moved the knee, he shot her again. That's what put her down. So about 0.75 split. Those are pretty fast shots at this kind of distance. So you can use the top or the bottom. I'm going to use the bottom targets. I have not shot today. Now, I will say this past weekend, I did a shooting class, a handgun class, essential handgun employment with Steve Fisher of Sentinel Concepts. So I'm not like cold, haven't shot in forever cold, but I haven't shot today. It is Wednesday when I'm filming this. So, I mean, it's been 3 days and since I've pulled the trigger on this particular pistol. I'm shooting Benvolio. This is my P30, HK P30. That is my everyday carry gun. It's been worked over by Gray Guns. It has a very nice trigger, has an RMR on it, okay? So all that makes my shooting easier. All this makes this a little bit easier for me. But am I gonna be able to hit a 10 ring and a 10 ring in this time frame of, let's just say, under 1.5 seconds to the first shot and about a 0.75 split to the second one? Now's the time. It's all the chips are down. So real quick, in order to do this, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to drive the gun out here and come from a low ready. So instead of, you can come from a high compressed ready, drive the gun out, that's fine. I'm going to come from a low ready position, and when the beep comes, I'm going to raise the gun, fire when I get a good firing position, drive over to the other target, and put a shot in there. My goal is under 1.5 on the first shot, and then about a 0.75 split, so about 2.25 on the second shot. See how we do. All right, that's together. Everything's good. Here comes my shot timer. About 4 yards. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. Let's see. Okay, so we had a total of 1.9 here. So what you can see is we're going to bring this up. I'm actually going to take this off so that I can holster this gun up. All right, and I didn't screen record, so I'm gonna have to bring this up for you to see, is that we had two shots with fairly high scores. My first shot went off at 1.01 seconds, but my second shot was a 0.89. So I had a total of 1.90. So that first shot went off a little bit early. My second shot, I actually was a little bit slow. So let's go down and look at our hits. And if you see, I was just low of the X, but I was in the 10 ring. Second shot, I absolutely drilled the X. So was that a fail or not? Gosh, I'm not positive, to be honest with you. I was just a tad bit slow, slower than he was at least, on my second shot. I want to do this one again and get a feel for whether or not I can do a third shot. So if you go and watch that, his third shot, so he hits, goes to the second one, back to really close to the first one, and actually missed that third shot. I'm going to see if I can pick my pace up just a little bit, see if I can still get those standards. So this is one of the cool things that your Mantis X can do. This isn't a video, featuring that or whatever, but it is a helpful thing if you're just watching your shots and you want a shot timer, something that not only manages to give you the splits, but actually kind of give you some feedback on your gun. This is a good one that it does. It's just one of the drills within it. It's a shot timer. So let's see if I can go 1, 2, 3, and see if I can pick that second shot up a little bit and then get back to the first one and hit another 10 ring. Let's just see if we can do that in a reasonable time. I'm going to set this out here so that I can see it a little bit better. All right, here we go. Live fire. Got enough rounds in the gun. Let's see how we do. Shooter ready. Ooh, it moved a little bit. The wind kind of drove it out. So that's pretty interesting, but let's see what we've got here. I'm going to say that I did pretty okay on those. Safely holster. And now let's come back and see what we've got here. So my scores were absolutely terrible, but I tried to pick them up a little bit more in terms of time. So here's what we had. My first shot was a 0.85, so I was able to get that shot pretty quick. My second shot, my score was terrible, 7.2, but again, I was trying to shoot it on the move. Came down to a 0.64 that time, so that's an acceptable one in terms of what he did. Third shot, a 0.72, so 1, 2, and 3. Let's come back here and see. I'm going to pull this out of the way so that the camera will focus. Let's see if I got my hits correctly. So I have the 2 hits here. So actually my first one I hit a very good shot. Second one here I drilled is still in the 10 ring, a little higher and righter than I did before. Third one came back here still in the 10 ring, but maybe a little bit lower than I wanted. So what are we seeing out of this? Well, I could make those shots at least cold today on a square range under no pressure of somebody, critiquing my every act. It's not out there for the world to see. Now, these are cold shots. Those are what I did today. But, so at that level, I would say, okay, so from a raw marksmanship perspective, I can probably pull this off. Now, I just want to be clear on this, too. In the last 12 months, I've had somewhere on the order of 350 hours of formal instruction in firearms, particularly in handgun. I put about 10,000 rounds through this P30 in the last year. So I would certainly say that just because I can do it doesn't mean that the vast majority of CCWers can do it. Now, of course, when I said it in the narrative video, I said use a couple of dots in the dot torture, and we didn't have it today because I forgot the target at home like a doofus. Lesson is always I'm an idiot. But what you can see is that I can make this small shot target do what I need it to do in the moment. Now, that said, can you? Well, I think this is something that maybe you could set up on the range. Again, it's from a low ready or a high compressed ready, and you can use a shot timer app and you can see what your skill is. I think this is a difficult shooting problem, and this is one of the reasons that I said worked out for this officer. He has a high level of skill, he has a high level of commitment to training, and so he knew he could pull that shot off. I had actually done it under pressure before, but man, this is a very high level of skill, and I don't recommend that people do it or think that this is a positive and acceptable and exemplary way to do things because of the incredible high level of skill that it requires. So that's what I got out of this one.